Hey, and welcome back. We are starting trials today, and going to pick a jury and do all of that stuff. But the last 2 weeks we've been out of court to the extent that we can stay out of court. Of course, we still have family court and we still have DUIs going on magistrate's court. But when I say out of court, we were out of felony court, general sessions court, and as a caveat, we were still doing stuff in other parts of the state. So one of the press releases that you saw, and I saw some of the comments about it, was that Deontay Mitchell, 26, out of Beaufort, down around Hilton Head, he was convicted and got 25 years on a voluntary manslaughter. So in 2021, December, there was a birthday party, and there were hundreds of people there, and there were several fights that had broken out the night. These two factions within distant family just didn't like each other, and there was guns on both sides, that sort of thing. And at the end of one of the fights, Mitchell used a gun. And I think there may have been gunfire coming from the other side too, but he had shot one of the victims and killed that victim who was just in a fight. And then one of the bullets hit someone else and killed them. So it was two people died that night. Of course, in the chaos, and that's kind of how the police described it, and that's exactly what it looked like, but with people firing. But the question was, how in the world are we doing anything in a different circuit, 2.5, 3 hours away? Well, what happened was there are times that our office has to recuse ourselves, or we have to say, look, I know this person, or this person is a family member of a brother or sister of a secretary. And it, even though I think I could probably be fair, I don't know the person, but the appearance of impropriety, we will send it to the Attorney General's office, and then it'll get to another prosecutor's office. So there was some sort of conflict of interest in Beaufort County, and they sent it to the Attorney General's office. And the Attorney General's office, I believe, was going to handle the case, but then they saw a conflict of interest, and they sent it to Spartanburg. And the Spartanburg prosecutor, he got complained on by one of the sides of this faction, and he had to send it back to the Attorney General office. So that's 3 recusals. That also answers why it was a 2021 case. And then the AG's office asked me, do you know any Deontay Mitchell or any of these people? And I said, no. He said, well, would you take this case? And I said, sure. So we put one of our best people on it. They went down there several times, interviewed. Might I add, that was 3 recusals. And the first time I talked with the victim's family, they had already started on wanting us recused. And I said, look, until we get recused, until you complain enough that we are recused, we're going to work the case and we're going to do as good as we can do. So once we started in on it and started trying to figure out through forensics, exactly what had happened, we were able to get through it. But even in that, there was a movement to have a 4th recusal. There's such emotions on either side, and people raising sand that that had started. But anyway, Brandon Lanier is a guy in our office. He's done a great job. He went down with George DeBusk. They took several trips to Beaufort, reviewed all of the evidence, talked with all of the witnesses, and had this case planned for July of this year, a court date set. When that happened, the defendant said that he would plead guilty. It really fit the crime. Murder is the killing of another person with malice or hatred or ill will and a little bit of planning. In other states, they have murder 2 or murder 3. We don't have that in South Carolina. We don't have it in Beaufort. We don't have it in Horry. You've got murder, and then you've got manslaughter. And manslaughter is murder without the malice. And it is extremely appropriate if you see red, or if there's a fight, or the perfect scenario is a guy comes home, he finds his wife in bed with another person, and he just sees red and shoots one or both of them. But without being able to form malice, he's just so rigid, and the law says in that case it's manslaughter. And the way, in practicality, the way it works out is when you bring a charge, a murder charge, in front of a jury, then the judge would also include for the jury to consider manslaughter. So the guy in this case said, look, I did what you said I did, and I will go ahead and plead guilty to manslaughter. And he could have gotten up to 30 years on each of the cases. The judge heard about the chaos and what was going on and sentenced him to 25 years. I will add, the victim's family was very pleased at the outcome of the case. They understood that it was chaos and a mess, but that's too much to go into in a short writing. So that's why these little conversations are important. I don't present to you the entirety of the case, but that's some of the stuff that was going on. It was hundreds of people. It was not that many, but a bunch of guns. It wasn't hundreds of guns, but it was a bunch of guns, and there were firings on both sides. It was a mini Gettysburg going on down there, and 2 people ended up losing their lives, and now Devontae Mitchell has just lost the next quarter century of his life. So that is how we came to get that case. It had been recused from several different offices, and Brandon and George got on it and did a really good job of bringing justice to this situation. Now, going forward today, we hope to bring justice to some families here in Horry and Georgetown. So we will be trying our own cases this week, but that's how we got that case, and we get them all the time, and a lot of times we're passing them off. We get about as many as we give away, but we have to sometimes send those when there's an appearance of impropriety, and that's how that sort of goes down. So have a great week, and I'll update you on the trial roster from this week.